So when I said quote unquote passive end quote elements, I'm not saying that the elements themselves are passive, but they can be looked at as being in a form or a way of being, of just being microcosm, you know? Because the microcosm obviously is different from the macrocosm. But the humans, it's not all about the humans energetically, you know? But we like to make it about ourselves, and there's nothing necessarily wrong with that. But if there's too much ignorance and confusion and other toxic traits and behaviors affecting how you go about the reality and interacting with other people, regardless of the place you meet up, because everything could be from a professional intention. So I feel like the elements could be passive, and then but what I mean by that in this context is microcosm. So how like the quote unquote macrocosm elements play out in the environment, which is more like catered to the collective field. In this context, macrocosm end quote being the atmosphere and the environment. And obviously, could that question particularly be answered if we just kind of focus it on that, like what did create the environment, you know? Like just getting down to like that query was asked, and somewhere within new technology can it be found? And I'm sure with different computing processing systems, some algorithm could locate such a phrase in its subsets of whatever data subsets are fed into whatever the collective AI is. So I want to talk about the wind. So the wind, it's quote unquote passive end quote in a certain context where it's kind of like it's its own field, but it's simultaneously it could be at the will of everything, but it could still have a will of its own, because the wind is its own like balancing. It's like a finisher to how if I walk this way, I think the wind might do something. So I should have just stayed stationary, but I don't know, I'm walking like a goat and I'm just accepting it. And this is what this is what the hype is really about, just working for your sovereignty, being grateful obviously as much as I can, and hopefully understandable, and make people understand what you're saying, because if like someone isn't like understanding what you're saying, they're gonna obviously like naturally look at you like kind of like what's going on, like obviously. But so it's like I hope people see, I hope like the resonant people see the intention, and I'm not trying to like I'm not trying to be all egotistical, I'm not saying pat me on the back for my effort. No, this is just I'm engaging and I'm relating to truth itself in an entirely different way than how everybody else is, because they have their own conditioning, and that could be expressed as even like GMO stuff, and I'm guilty of it too. Sometimes like if I get a coffee at the airport and it's filled with tap water, that's my fault. I should have known that. My awareness should have known that. But maybe the coffee machine filters the tap water to filtered water somehow. And if it does that, then it's up to me for my body to know what kind of entered into my body. And if I don't, that could be my unconscious physical health body at kind of like its own risk, for just contamination, and that risk and contamination, now you got to work physically, like hygienically, to cleanse particular toxins within whatever you're consuming, some basic ass fucking shit. So within that basic shit, like certain blood veins and clots could have certain lipids between the bloods, if I'm using that term correctly. And there's micro oxygen within your body. And since there's micro oxygen within your body, there's certain places like quote unquote canyons out in the earth reality that resemble the inner reality, because the organs could be looked at as some type of molding that has a function, and that's located like that could resemble the organs in your body could resemble like earth, more or less, perhaps like lakes. And just like the center of the earth, it has to have some type of pulse, it has to have some type of heartbeat. The earth has to have some type of heart. So within the earth having some type of heart, it's just an instrument generator resonator that's receiving all the impacts of the ether perfecting itself in the earth consciousness, and it's solidifying that neatly and harmonizing it how it will. And all the quote unquote angels and demons, end quote, are receiving that, and they're either landing on the light side or the dark side, energetically, not good, not bad. And then after, the illusion gets made after that, So there's micro oxygen in our body, and that micro oxygen, how it circulates through our body, it could be similar to how oxygen circulates from, the North Pole and the South Pole, where the air, generator coil conductors are, resonant, and how Earth circulates the air. It's due to the North and the South Pole being something of a hollow esoteric cavity system, canal system, and that air is the conductor generator, coil, pinnacle coil, respectively, that filters the air throughout the fucking earth, and that air mechanism on the collective earth, it's more or less similar to the human body, because we are earth, and we have something of like, orifices and quote unquote portals, end quote. So within those portals, the air is impacting things on a different level, and as the air is impacting things on a different level, shout out to Citrus, we're learning how some creator kind of consciously put the human together, and that has been the human project has been, how long has the human project been going on? And then over time, of course, there's different influencer creators from different quote unquote ETs and shit, end quote, no shit. And then within all of that, there's a new update, and this new update could connect to a deeper origin and see all the other, influencers of different times, and seeing how the similar template of the human body, it operates like the earth, and it needs micro oxygen and oxygen to kind of circulate and keep things moving in a fresh way, because air can have its own purity just as water, but like air could also be with the contaminants of just the different emissions of the earth element, and how the earth element has different lower octaves of itself, such as steel, earth being solidified in different, materials, and different stars colliding in a different spatial field. And over time, when two stars clash and they create a high friction molten collision, over time it lands somewhere, and that collision over time, it has its own precession of its own consolidation, of its own transference of how the elements, are cooling down and just solidifying from a different, nuclear reaction type of shit. So that the micro air, it's because air still travels in the tunnels, like underneath, I like inner earth, there's still air there, so like the air that we're experiencing, that's like the air traveling on our skin, the air akin to the air moving across the earth and the land, that's akin to the wind moving across our skin, because the earth is still in inner earth, and we have micro oxygen in our body. And that micro oxygen, it kind of, it's like one of the final animators to life. It makes the baby breathe when the fucking mom pops out her twerkadocious booty, and she pops out like 3 kids. And let me check the battery. Oh, cut 3%, mouth. And then the air kind of like puts it back to life when the baby is popped, you know? Popped out. When the baby pops out, the fucking baby comes to fucking life by breathing the air. So the air is like a life cap. So with that life cap of air, we're like, before we were born, before we even incarnate, our soul is traveling in a different dream world of how the wind is moving some other shit, a higher shit, you know, how the wind of the earth connects to like different galaxies. So we're traveling on that wind between lives. Thank you very much.